Welcome back to another exciting episode of Heavy Muscle Radio Live. I'm Dave Palumbo on this July 18th, 2022 evening, and I'm here with Chris Aceto, of course. And Chris, what is going on in the middle of the summer for you guys? Do you have the kids home, or are you at the camp? What are you guys doing?
No, the 3-year-old is going to school on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays.
Oh, good. Okay.
From 8 to 2, which is great.
That's great.
And the 8-year-old goes to a summer camp, and then he goes to track. So he's dead tired by the time.
Awesome.
I drop him off at the summer school, pick him up at the summer camp, not school. He makes that distinction. They don't do any math or English, he said, so it can't be a school. and then I bring him to track, and then he's beat tired by the end. He's like exhausted, which is excellent. They both are. And then the oldest two, they hate me being too strict. They're pissed at me right now because I'm too strict.
Well, what do they do during the day since they're grown up now?
Well, this is great. The 17-year-old is supposed to be working.
Right. But.
Well, I said, go get a job. And he decided to take it on himself. I have a supplement line that does not sell. I made it because... Yeah, I made it because I was like, tons of people contact me for supplements and this and that. So I'll sell it to the people who contact me.
Right.
I mean, just an extra income.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's taken it on himself to become the, quote, brand manager. He even gave himself that.
You should send him out to spend the weekend with the manager Matt there. Manager Matt could teach him how to be a brand manager.
I thought you were going to say down to Aaron in the pen.
You could do that too. Go visit him. Yeah, have a little one-on-one with him.
So he fashions himself the brand manager, which just means I don't want to work.
Right. What's the 18-year-old doing?
The 18-year-old is doing stuff around the properties and getting ready to go to college.
Oh, so you got him working then for you, in other words.
Well, yeah. I mean, anything for me is easy work.
Do you have him collecting rents? I mean, what is he doing? Managing the properties?
No, just like painting and showing apartments and cleaning apartments and
that's productive. Why
grass.
can't the other one do that with him? They don't get along?
Because he's international brand manager. International.
He wants to stay home. He wants to work from home like everyone else does. Right, Chris?
He just want it easy. My 8-year-old asked me, which is what is wrong with the world today.
Mm-hmm.
He asked me, he's 8, what is the easiest way to make money?
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, besides marrying it, I don't know. But if you find out, I told him, if you find out in your lifetime, let me know, because I would like to do that.
I thought it was doing what you love, but I found out that actually that requires more work, but at least it's not as, you kind of enjoy it a little more, but it is more work if you do the stuff you love, right? Because you put more into it.
Yeah, you put more into it, but there's no easy route. As Jay Cutler would say, there's no easy way, Chris. There's no easy way.
I always tell people, if you want to see a hard worker, check out Jay, because Jay doesn't even need to make any more money. He's got enough money to last the rest of his life, and he still works probably harder than any other person out there doing different projects he's got. So
yeah.
I
know a lot of people who don't have to work at all, but they're up at 6 and they work till, I don't know what else they do.
Right. I always look at the people who don't work too hard, that really that enjoy their weekends. They have the barbecues and at the beach. And I'm like thinking, I don't know, are they better off or worse off than me? I don't know. And then I say to myself, you know what it is? It's really about what works for you. Because every person is different. You and I, if we're not doing something at all times, we'll be bored out of our mind and do destructive things. So we need to be focused on some kind of a project. Whereas other people, they're absolutely fine having a barbecue and drinking a couple beers and watching the football. And if I do that, I feel like I'm wasting
you would
time.
die, Dave. Yeah.
Well, I feel like I'm wasting time and that I should be getting something else done that I'm not doing, And so,
well, that's why my kids hate me, because, one of my characteristics is get something done. Whatever it is, just get something done. Get something accomplished today. Check, you want to be able to, at the end of the day, check that box that I got this done, that done, whether it be your health, whether it be your, your business, your work, your schooling, I always have to be busy, and I always have to have a major project going.
Look, if I was still competing nowadays, that would obviously take a very big chunk of my time up. But I would still come home and I would be like, I'm not going to sit on the couch and watch TV. I mean, I could be doing so much to promote myself on social media and YouTube, and I'd be doing video. You know, we didn't have that when we were competing, you know. So, you know, yeah, there was a couple of emails I'd answer and stuff like that and go on some message boards, I think, you know, but there really wasn't a lot you can do online to help yourself build your brand. And so nowadays you're a fool if you're sitting around twiddling your thumbs as a bodybuilder, because even if whatever you're doing now won't make you money while you're competing because you're just a little too preoccupied, if you build like the structure there and you build the basis where people know, oh, this is a guy who's always on his Instagram answering questions. When you're done competing, you're going to have that base of support and people, you know, waiting for you, and they'll buy anything you sell them, and they'll, you know, pay for advice, for coaching and stuff like that. So you can have a built-in career, you know, and a lot of guys do it while they're competing. You know, I know a lot of guys that are great coaches and probably make way more money coaching people than they do from competing.
Well, Dave, I thought of you the other day because I thought, wow, that's different. I'm getting older, because no one was in the house. And normally if I had 4 hours in the house, I'd do what you do. I'd run down to the office and just immerse myself in work. And I sat on the couch, which is, I probably haven't done in 10 years.
Yeah.
I sat on the couch for like 3 hours and channel surfed. And I thought, well, that's different, because I know if your kids went away with your wife for like 2 weeks, you'd probably write like 4 books.
No, I'd probably do nothing. You know what it is? I'm better under pressure. Like when I know that the kids are coming home in an hour, I'll crank out an hour's worth of very productive work. If I know I have the whole day, I'll probably, like you did. I'd be on
waste
the couch.
time. Yeah.
And then it would be 8 o'clock at night. I'd say, oh, I got to start doing some stuff, you know, and then I'd be up till like 12 midnight or something like that. And it wouldn't even be relaxing. But yeah, that's the way it goes. You know, obviously we're in the heart of the contest season here. And you know, it's funny because for some reason in Boston, in Canada, and in Europe, they love to do Sunday shows. No other place, right? Only in Canada, in Boston, and in.
Dave, I'm telling you, it's so funny you say that, because I was thinking today I was getting ready for tomorrow. Well, put it this way: we do the show on Sunday, and I was thinking the show is tomorrow because it was a bodybuilding show today.
Oh, that's right.
I'm like, wait a minute, the show's tonight because we do it on Sunday, but they had the Vancouver Pro on the wrong day.
True. Now, obviously, IAIN VALLIERE winning that event. You know, I actually got the live stream, and it was, you know, it was a good live stream, but it was I thought the coloring wasn't so great, you know, on the whatever, you know, I guess I don't know if it was the camera problem or if it was the backdrop or something like that, but it wasn't great. But it was, at least I got to watch the show. So, and I thought that, you know, this show could have been a disaster because it really was not a deep lineup. There was only about 7 guys in it or something like that. But
crazy.
I mean, the top, you know, 2, 3 were so good that it really made the whole show. I mean, Antoine Vailant versus IAIN VALLIERE made the whole thing worth watching. And I actually enjoyed it more because we had 2 great guys in the show, and I didn't have to watch 50 other guys, you know, do their routine. So I thought it actually worked out for the best. What did you think of the 2 of those guys?
I thought IAIN VALLIERE deserved the win, and I thought Antoine looked fantastic. I just think, you know, IAIN VALLIERE has filled in a lot of like gaps to his body in 3 years, 4 years. Adductors are better. He used to have funny looking legs, you know. I think they look really good now. They look tremendous from behind. He's got big glutes, you know, big, you know, good hamstrings. But the quads always seemed like a little odd looking, but they've filled out a lot. His condition continually improves year to year. Pecs, you know, because he's wide, he used to have weak pecs. I mean, people used to say like, oh, IAIN VALLIERE. I'm like, God, his pecs are so flat. Maybe like 4 years ago. And here's a good shot for him too, for both of them. The back double, he's always been wide, so he has a good back last run. But
you notice he holds his elbows a little low, Chris?
Yeah, he does.
Does that on the front shot too. He remember in the scene from Pumping Iron where Dorian's like, sometimes the little guys, they hide away when they put.
Yeah.
He kind of He kind of keeps his wrist a little too close to his arms on his double biceps, and he keeps his elbows low. I don't know if
he
that's
probably has a reason. Maybe he has a reason to make his lats look better, but his back thickness has improved a lot.
That side leg shot is great.
Yeah,
really, really good.
I mean, the bottom line is his. Not only has he gotten bigger in 4 years, but he's improved weaknesses, and he's gotten bigger, and his condition progressively, improves along with his size. So, I mean, I thought this was a really good look for him. Just, he's got to be big. Everyone wants to come in peeled out of their minds. I think if he came in lighter here, he might be a little bit vulnerable. I mean, I think lighter he'd probably still win, but big is his calling card.
Yeah, he's got a big structure. I mean, I think that his only weakness at this point is maybe presentation. He needs to just keep working on that, and that's just he's like a very I had this problem too. He's very mechanical up there on stage. So some guys can just feel the poses and feel the music, so to speak, and pose to it. Like the flexibility guys. He's a little mechanical. He's one of these guys that operates by practicing it 1,000 times, and I was like that too. He's going to get better and better just because the way he routinely keeps just doing it over and over again. So I think as long as he just takes little tidbits from advice from people and just tweaks his positioning on his body a little bit, I think because he's got a lot more gifts. I don't think he shows his physique as best as it can. Whereas Antoine, if you look at Antoine overshows. Like he makes you look like he's better than he really is, even because he knows his strengths and he knows his weaknesses and he knows how to hide it. And I was impressed. Like Antoine tore a bicep, I think it was less than a year ago. Remember, he tore one the year before that, and then he tore another one, and then he had a slip back. He went back into using drugs again, and he talked about that on his channel or on some interview he did. And he had a lot of setbacks. The fact that he had all those setbacks and got on stage and looked this good just tells you what a genetic freak this guy is, right?
Yeah, he's always, Antoine is, I think he's like one of these guys. I mean, I don't know how old he is now, but, he has top pro bodybuilder written all over him since he was like 20. And
before that,
I mean, 20 when he won the teenage or junior Canada's or whatever. I remember seeing a picture and said, wow, he looks great. I think, him coming in the type of condition that he brought here was really important because it gave him an automatic one-on-one, pose down, or it called attention to what he brought, and the judges were forced to okay, it's going to be a two-man show, but we can't just give it to Ann. It's going to be a battle. And I think that is, if you go to genuine condition, genuine skin thinness, water retention, all those things, I think he was, in the best condition for sure. I just think that, maybe due to the torn bicep this year or the torn one last year, he didn't have the wow that sometimes he's had in the upper body. The legs were great, hamstrings great glutes and hams, great condition all over. Just seems like he's had more volume in the shoulders, on the most muscular, and more volume even on the pecs, a more square look and more back depth.
I think his legs got so good too, Chris, that could be an issue too, that they're almost overshadowing his upper body.
Well, they've always been good, but I think, sometimes there's a trade-off. I think this is his best condition ever. Well, I'm certain it is. And, sometimes trying to chase that condition, it's hard to keep some type of fullness, whether it be in the legs, the upper body, pecs, back. So I think he did the smart thing, came in the absolute best he could come in, because I think that judges are human, just like everyone else. And they probably were thinking, okay, he's coming back from an injury, so don't expect the best that he's been. And he over-delivered in terms of condition. And, they sat up in their seats and, they had him in the middle at the beginning, surprisingly.
I'm looking at the scorecard now, Chris. You know that
I bet it's very close. I guarantee it's very close.
At the pre-judging, he got a first place vote. How about that?
I wouldn't be surprised if he had more than one first. I mean, if he'll
It was a
throw the
1
highest
point separation after prejudging, and then Ian kind of unanimously won the night show. But
100% not surprised, because you know what? Someone asked me about the show, and I said, you know what? I started defending or you know, speaking to someone on text about how good Ian looked in terms of size, volume, and then I was looking at pictures, and the more I was looking, you know, I started to think, how do judges think? And a lot of times judges will just, if you're a big enough guy to win, you're not the biggest, which he's not the biggest in the lineup, Ian is,
right,
and you have the best condition, a lot of times by default, just go for the condition and say, well, he was big enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like he's a small guy. So I wasn't surprised at all that it was like super close.
Now, I mean, that has to say a lot for Antoine, you know, because Ian could potentially be a top 5 Olympian this year. I think he probably will be. He's certainly a top 7 guy, you know, consistently. So, I mean, Antoine to get some first place votes away from Ian, and Ian looked really good. That has to really be a confidence booster, I would think, for Antoine. I mean, imagine Antoine, like you said, comes back, you know, for the Arnold Classic, you know, in March, you know, with that extra volume that he might have lost and hasn't regained, you know, due to the bicep tear, due to the, you know, little drug slip up he had. I hope he's all over that. He could, you know, come in and win the Arnold Classic for all we know, you know, depending on who's there.
Well, you know, that's always a tough show to win, but it's certain to say that he's any of these type of Vancouver pro shows, Orlando pro shows, you know, he'd be a contender to win. I mean, if he's getting first place votes off the guy who just got 7th last year at the Olympia and 2nd at the Arnold. Was he 7th, Ian?
Yeah,
seventh at the Olympia, 2nd at the Arnold. This is probably his best, so it beats those.
Yeah.
And you're going up against a guy who squeaks out a couple first place votes.
It's tremendous.
I mean, it's I mean, it says a lot about where he can go as a bodybuilder.
Now let's talk about Ian for a minute, because Ian, you know, posted on his Instagram he was 264 at the show.
He looks like that, yeah.
Yeah, this was a good look for him. How does this place at the Olympia? I know this is a tough question, because, you know, he just came off winning a big show here, and you know, we're giving him all this fanfare, and he deserved it. But how does this look stack up at the Mr. Olympic, given the guys that we saw last year?
You know, I think he's. It's funny. My son asked me, and I said that he, who's, you know, because he's a brand manager now, he's got to know who the bodybuilders are. So I think that it depends on how many they call on the first call out. I don't see him. I know it's, you know, I don't see him yet as the top 5 guys in the first call out if they call 5.
What's he missing?
Nothing. And I knew you were going to ask that, Dave. And you know what? You know what the litmus test is, because he's not winning the show, is Hadi Chupin. You know, how does he stack up against Hadi Chupin? And Hadi eats a lot of people's lunch.
Right.
And Hadi is not going to be probably, I mean, just let's say Hadi's 3rd. And then you got Brandon, and then you got Ramy, and then you got Nick, and then you got Bonac. It's not to say Ian is not a dangerous bodybuilder, but the best thing going for Ian is his structure, and the worst thing going for him is his structure, because it's a big structure and it's insane. He's 264 and he still needs more size. He doesn't need more condition. He's improved his flow. I always thought he had kind of like a funky body, like a bunch of body parts stuck together, didn't flow well because the pecs were flat. Now.
Yeah.
Much more. Pecs are way fuller, back is way thicker, legs look different. So he's improved. And, you know, conditioning, just remove that. You know, like the flow is improving as he gets bigger. And you know, the only knock, I know it sounds crazy, is he still needs to be bigger, because that structure is like so big.
that it's an interesting point you bring up, because someone asked me, one of my clients texted me, they're like, how do you think that Ian stacks up against Nick Walker?
Yeah, what you say? Oh,
And
good question.
I said, I really like Ian's structure because I think it flows well. He's big. It's the Dennis Wolf-like structure, but I think Nick destroys him because of the density and the compactness, and he's just not missing any body parts, and there's no gaps in his physique, and he's grainy, dry, hard. And that just is a very impressive look on stage. And Ian just hasn't brought that yet to the stage. And I don't know if it's that he needs more muscle or that's just not the way his body is put together. I don't know what the answer to that is. But structurally, Ian is actually better than Nick. But Nick has got that just wow factor that blows your head off, so to speak.
Yeah. So it's hard to say, and then other people's condition, but traditionally those people I just mentioned, I mean, the 5, the 6 or whatever, they've been in shape, you got Labrada, he's, who's going to be in there, and who else, there's going to be other people. I was thinking of the Olympics. Go ahead.
Yeah. Do you think that Ian's, and I brought this up earlier, but I really think that this could be a fact. Do you think his presentation hurts him in that lineup? He doesn't stick out in the lineup. You know how some guys just demand stage presence? Like, I mean, even Sergio. Your eyes always go to Sergio when he's on stage for some reason. He has this charisma on stage.
Yeah, I don't want to compare him to Blessing in terms of physiques, because they're totally different. But if Blessing hits a front double and Nick Walker hits a front double and Ian hits it, where do your eyes go to? I'm not talking about the best physique, just the way they hit it.
No,
Ian's more rote, you know what I mean? Front double bicep, front lat spread, side chest. He looks good in all those. Back double bicep. I mean, Roden took the criticism for being a sleeper on stage. Come on, wake up, fight for it. I'm not saying Ian's asleep, but the way he hits the poses, listen, you go into the Olympia, judges are just, everything is on the line, and at that level, everything counts. And the way you hit the poses, I think it may sound stupid, but you're a judge and you're judging 5. Just because you're a professional judge doesn't mean you don't make mistakes. Or just because you're a professional judge and you're a good judge doesn't mean you get it right all the time, or you're judging just only the physique. You might be judging just only the physique, and you're not sure who wins a shot.
Right.
But the other 2 guys standing next to you, or 4 guys, it's you're looking left, right, and there's 6 guys, and someone's hitting the shot like, not lackadaisical, but the other guys are hitting it like, they're at a rock concert.
Dynamically, yeah.
Yeah, and and you're hitting it the right way and you look great in it, judge puts you behind them.
Right. Like I said, it's an interesting, I like to run these scenarios by you and see what you think, because this is what's going to happen. And, I'm sure the judges go over this stuff and look at these pictures themselves. And, it's funny because you could look at someone's Instagram and you can see pictures and videos from a show and be very impressed with someone. And then they stand on the stage, on the Olympia stage in that top call out, and it's like they get lost. And like you said it yourself, Roden standing, backstage looks like just another guy. And then he would stand in that lineup and he would just pop out of that. I mean, everyone's eyes are on Roden. Holy mackerel, the guy won.
Yeah, well, I mean, but he would receive, my point was as well that he would receive the criticism that he's not fighting. What I mean? He's not animated enough, and
right.
And he's not fighting for it, and you let him Phil crowd you, and you step back when he steps forward, and
right. But your eyes go to him, his physique, because he has a lot of gifts and bells and whistles, as we say, on his physique. Yeah. Right, but you're right. You have to have also a little bit of aggressiveness there, but Sean has got that laid back attitude. Always had that, like, calm exterior, even though his interior was in turmoil. Whereas, I'm sure Ian, you get Ian on a podcast, he's got a terrific personality. I think he gets a little nervous on stage, and sometimes that doesn't translate well. But look, he brought a very good look here. I don't know if this was his best look, but it was certainly a good look, and it was enough to beat Antoine, who was awesome here as well. So I say this was a great show, despite the fact that the lineup wasn't as deep here.
Look, but as a little aside, Dave, they gave 20 grand for the first prize, which we've been making fun of the prize. Yeah, I don't know if it was 20,000 loonies, Canadian dollars.
That's still a decent amount.
The American dollar is going up so strong every day. It might be like the equivalent of like 8,000. Then you factor in inflation. By tomorrow, it'll be like 5,000. So,
right. How does Antoine do if he would have done the last pro show we recapped?
In this condition, he's going to be in the mix for a lot of.
What was it? I don't even. What was that last show we just talked? I can't even remember who won.
Was it Orlando? Or
Orlando, who won Orlando?
Did Hassan win it?
Yes, Hassan.
Yeah, right? Hassan. Yeah, Hassan.
How would he have beaten Hassan, or would it?
No. Too much muscle on Hassan, and the conditions, really good. So he would have been like top 3 probably.
Right.
Which the Italian guy gets second. He's harder than the Italian guy, but the Italian guy's full of the packs.
Yeah, he would have placed second.
Yeah, second to third, somewhere in there. Second, third, fourth.
That's why I don't understand why a guy like Antoine hasn't hit 3 shows already. I mean, I don't, maybe he figured, let me do, I live in Canada. I'll do a Canadian show first, see how I do. I would hit a couple more shows if I were him.
I mean, he's coming off the drug thing and the bicep thing.
Right. But he looks good.
So
keep himself busy. That's what I say. Pull the Milos. Do them all.
Yeah, exactly.
2, 3, 4 shows. Get your money's worth out. If you qualify for the Olympia on points, you qualify. If you snag a win, you go to the Olympia. If not, you shut it down and maybe do the Arnold Classic. That's nothing wrong with that. I think it was a good move for him to get back on stage, and I'm glad to see that he did well. I was surprised. I thought Jonas Giatris, and I'm assuming you helped him again, right?
Yeah, he should have been
placed third here, but they placed
case closed. What was the scorecards? I didn't see them.
What?
How close was it on the scorecards?
It was pretty. It was unanimously spaced that way, which is weird because I had Jonas easily placing third. I thought.
Yeah.
I didn't really know Hossein Kalate. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He looked good. They both look good, but I thought Jonas had a little bit more in terms of gifts. And Seth Engman, who was thrilled with 5th, finished in that 5th position. But there was only 9 guys on the stage here. What did you think of that? Did you see the Asian guy? I thought he was pretty good. I'm surprised he placed so poorly. I don't know why they placed him so low.
In the Open?
Yeah.
Yeah, not condition. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, good job, Michelle Crack, on promoting that show, and you always do a great job and always provide a lot of money for prize money and give the athletes a good experience, and that's after all what it's all about. So I applaud her for that. All right, what else can we talk about? Do you want to go
No, the branch, the Chinese kid Branch won the classic.
Oh, you want to talk about him? Okay.
No, I mean he's worth mentioning. Well,
Chen Kang, Chen Kang was really good from China.
He was top 5 in the Classic Olympia 2 years ago, and I think last year, last time he couldn't get in because Trump had a tariff on the tickets. No, I don't know why he didn't compete last time. Maybe because it was I think COVID.
He has a really nice structure.
Very good.
Right now. Let me pull his picture up.
That's a killer physique, dude. Look at the legs.
He's got really fresh muscle too. Like he doesn't have a lot of shot up areas, and it's like everything flows well. His skin is super tight. He's got good skin. And how far can he go?
Oh my gosh. Well, put it this way. I went to China, Dave, and what a great guy. He told me his diet.
When was this? What year was this? 2 years ago?
It'd be like saying, Dave, how far can Species Nutrition go? And you tell me, well, we don't do any advertising at all whatsoever. How about on your website? No. Has anyone ever seen it? No. How are sales? Oh, great. His diet was like starvation, and it was like crash for 5 weeks into the Olympia, and he got top 5.
Crazy. That's like the Serge Nubret method, right?
It was the I don't know method. It was so he has a killer physique. He's a great guy, and he's dangerous at the Olympia, because he did well at the Olympia when he was a complete utter unknown. And you know what? I know when they go to the Olympia, if you show up and you look good, no matter what class you're in, you're going to get placed somewhat essentially where you deserve. But in the classic division, you got to really be exceptional to place where you deserve, because there's like 45 guys.
Right.
So it's easy to get lost in the mix. And as a judge, it's easy to be, to justify, come up with some phony excuse. Really, it just means I didn't even know who you were, so I didn't know if I should, place you as high as you placed.
Right.
He came from complete, utter nowhere the one time that he did the Olympia. And he compared well to Chris Bumstead. And he's got 22 weeks to, gear it up for the Olympia. No pun intended.
Is it only 22 weeks at this point? Holy mackerel.
Yeah. So
this year has just flown. I can't even believe it. I was watching him on stage. I actually, like I said, I bought the live stream because I wanted to watch the show, and he was impressive. Your eyes definitely, go to him and you say, you know what, this guy's got gifts. But it's hard for me to look at this lineup and say how he would do at the Olympia, because you know what?
Well, he's already placed top 5.
No, I know he has, but I'm just saying it's still hard for me to kind of say, all right, well, how is he going to do against the top 4 guys in the world? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but he's definitely got the tool set. I don't know if he's big enough yet, but if he keeps adding a little bit of size here, a little bit of size there, I think he could definitely be dangerous for sure. So,
well, yeah.
What?
No, you just summarized the classic Olympia. I mean, you just said it. It's so
hard.
Funny you just said it. No, you just said, is he big enough? What big would not even be a factor, but it's becoming a factor now. This classic Olympia, it's going to be about being big. It's because
Bumstead's so tall that he can weigh so much, and the guy's bones are like hollow or something like that, because he's like an open bodybuilder weight wise, and he's still 10 pounds under his limit because of his height.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
How do you that? I mean, you could have a beautiful physique.
Well, you got to get
a guy who's that much taller. It's like, remember Corey Everson back in the day? She was just beating people because she just stuck out on stage. She was like taller than everyone, and she had that classic look too.
I mean, who was second last year? Terrence Ruffin.
Yeah.
And when I saw Ruffin come out, I thought, okay, that's pretty much like the perfect combo of like size, condition. I didn't say size, and I just said that looks like it could win. And so if I didn't consider size, then obviously there's enough.
But Terrence has size. He just doesn't have height.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, when they put him next to Bumstead, I just thought okay, I think, yeah.
It's Arnold and Franco again, is what it is,
Two divisions. How about a new division, Dave? God, call Bob Chick, the athletes, right? Yeah. They'll piss everyone off.
We got to have a height division, a short class.
We have to have for the classic because there's so many people.
Well, because it's not fair to the short guys, right? So
tell Jake Wood you got to crack open another $30,000 first prize, Jake.
It actually makes sense if you think about it, Chris. Not that I want another division, because they are so different, the physiques, the tall guys versus the short guys. And back in Arnold's day, there was 2 height classes. So why not? I mean, you got more guys competing nowadays. Back then, there was one guy in a height class, but why not do 2?
Why not?
There you go. We got another division. Let Bob percolate on that for 6 months and pitch that to the powers that be.
Well, if it passes, he'll say it was his idea.
Yeah, of course. All right, we're going to do another one of our epic battle segments, which we've been doing, which is basically battles of the yesteryear, so to speak. Guys had competed against each other in the past and had some amazing outcomes and a lot of excitement. And we're going to go right into epic battles. Let's do our little intro.
I was there.
I haven't even said what it is yet. Let me do the intro first just to get people excited about it, Chris.
The music, Dave.
Today's epic battle is going to be Lee Haney versus Dorian Yates. The actual title of this video is wrong, but it's actually 1991, right? They were competing against each other.
Yep. That was at the hotel with the Swan, and they had the
Atlanta?
seating. No, that was at the first year they had it at Disney World, which was crazy.
Orlando. Okay. There's
I
Dorian.
mean, it was like a big deal to have it at Disney World. Anyways, they had seats like from a high school auditorium, Dave.
Really?
In other words, you couldn't see over the person in front of
Right.
you.
Yeah. If you weren't in the front couple rows, you probably had no view. Where were you sitting?
About 40 rows back. I helped Bob Paris for this show, who got 11th.
Right. Is that Vince Taylor to the right of Lee Haney? Yeah.
That's
Vince.
Vince. Yep, Vince was third, I think. And the backstory for you, Dave, is that I was invited to like a VIP lounge, and I knew Joe Weider,
right?
But I'd never met Ben Weider,
right?
And Ben came up to me and Laura and said, "Yeah, the show is wide open this year. It's a wide open show. It's wide open."
And Haney was 7-time Mr. Olympia already.
And Laura said, quote, "No one has ever gotten a first place vote off Lee Haney. How is it wide open?" His face, Dave, I swear to God, his jaw dropped. Because she, not only that, she pressed him on it. Lee Haney trained his balls off for the show.
Yeah.
Because he knew Dorian was breathing down his neck.
And it was
he knew he was a big guy. He never worried about anyone else. But he was phenomenal for that show.
Yeah, I thought that was his best ever.
As you know, people don't know he's what, 6-time Mr. Olympia. He's going for number 7.
No, he's going for 8.
He leaves. Who's he leave as a contract?
After he won 7, yeah, he left Weider for Blackman.
Leaving Weider is like saying the president of the United States is now living in, Germany. He's moving the White House to Germany.
I can only imagine how much money Blackman must have thrown at Lee for Lee to leave Weider. It must have been a ridiculous amount.
Call him up, and you still have his cell phone number. Call him up, find out. Steve, how much money did you give to Lee Haney? Steve Blackman, who was the arch nemesis.
It was Twin Lab, but it really was Twin Lab took him under contract of what it was. Because people don't realize Twin Lab owned Muscular Development, and that Twin Lab was a much bigger company than the magazine Muscular Development was. And then Weider had his supplement company and his magazines. And Blackman, they must have been swooning Lee Haney. And then Blackman, remember him telling me that, we did a whole campaign the whole year leading up to the Olympia saying, can Haney win the Olympia after leaving Weider? Like, it's almost like they purposely did that to let everyone know.
Brilliant.
It was brilliant.
Brilliant.
If he got screwed, Blackman was right, that that Weider didn't allow it. So they had to vote that show had to be judged very, very honestly.
I'm sure. Listen, I am sure that crushed Joe.
Oh, absolutely. Had to, right?
But let me come to Joe's, it crushed Joe, and Joe probably got over it, kind of, sort of, mostly, and probably wanted the best guy to win. Mm-hmm. But I don't think Ben.
No,
I think there was
well, they knew Haney. They knew that Haney was retiring, and they had Dorian locked up already, so it didn't matter. So even if, all right,
it did matter. It did matter because you know what? There's at that point, it'd be like Logan going to live with the neighbors, and calling the neighbor, "Dad, we're having a great time, Dad," and you say, "Did I hear, Amanda? Did I hear Logan just call the neighbor Dad?"
Yeah.
Joe was like heavily involved with people, and he took that as, I'm sure he took it, probably killed them at the beginning.
We got to get Haney on and ask him how that all went down, because I'm sure Haney felt terrible in having to call up Joe.
Oh, I'm sure. Regardless, money, he did the right thing.
I'm sure Haney probably told Joe what Twin Lab was offering him, and probably gave him the ability to counter that, right? You would think.
Dave, yes, and tell me what year did the WBF start?
Oh, that was the same year, right? 90.
Was 90. It?
Yeah, it was 90. It's 91, right? Wasn't the first show 91? Yeah.
So listen, because I know all. Ask Lee Haney. I can guarantee you that the WBF played a factor in
his looking out for himself and getting more money.
Right.
Because those guys left completely. You know, they didn't even live with the neighbor. They went to a whole different country to live. Logan and the gang, you know, moved.
Did Haney know that?
His,
did Haney know that was his last year though?
I think he knew it was his last year, and he wanted to cash in the chips.
Cashed out. He cashed out. Yeah, that's all.
And rightfully so. You know. So,
I got to ask Lee, with the money. You think Blackman offered over? I'm sure it was over $100,000, right? It had to be like 100.
Listen, how much? How much money did Vince McMahon throw at Lee Haney?
That's even
that's
better
the number one question,
right? That's a better question.
Probably 10% of what he's settled on those suits that he just like those NDA. He's got a bunch of non-disclosure agreements where.
You know what though? But Haney was on the way out. Maybe he wasn't even maybe Vince didn't even talk to him. I mean, he might have had a meeting with him, but Haney might have said, "Look, you know what? I'm kind of out of bodybuilding at this point. I don't want to do it anymore." You know, so they might have not even really considered him. So Haney probably figured Blackman here is over here like flashing money in the wind at me, you know, for one more year.
Yeah,
and I'm sure he had a 2-year deal with Blackman. You know, his deal didn't end with the Olympia. I'm sure he went at least another 1 or 2 years. He might have gotten 3 years out of Blackman. Maybe Weider didn't want to give him 3 years because
30. You know, I don't know how old Lee was when he retired. 32,
33 or something like that.
I mean, we talk about people. Oh, he's starting to come into his own. He's 35. Yeah. Lee Haney was like, okay, I'm out of here. 32. When's the last time you interviewed Lee Haney?
It's been a year or two. Yeah, probably about 2 years.
You know, good. It's just
we'll get him on the show together. We can ask him because you know the whole history. You know, the funny thing about Haney was that, like you said, he could have kept going. I mean, he was only 33 years old. I mean, it was a very smart move on his part. You know, exit on top. You know, so I think that he made the right move because it would have been. I mean, he might have beat Dorian again the following year. I don't know. Dorian was a lot better, but he wasn't freaky crazy until 93. So I don't know, maybe Haney would have snuck another year out. I don't know if Haney would have upped the ante a little bit. I'm sure Haney's supplement and PED use was probably very minimal.
I'm just going to say, ask Lee Labrada, whose supplement PED was a joke. A joke. I think I said that. A joke. I was going to say, ask Samir. Samir would know because Samir was another joke of a joke.
Haney might have added growth hormone like the last year that he competed. And that's why he looks so good. He probably never used it before that, I'm sure. So, but that was when the mass sponsors were just starting to come into play. So I think, you know, Haney could have hung with those guys. Imagine Haney with another 10, 15 pounds of muscle on that frame.
Forget about it.
Mackerel.
Yeah.
Talk about.
Yeah.
He might have been another 5 years. He might have won if he would have gone that route. That wasn't Haney's route, but if he would have said, you know what? I'm going to up the ante like these guys are upping it. You know, he might have won 5, 6 more. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, he strikes me as somebody, you know, had a plan. You know, when I'm done, I'm done, and you know, there's no. I'm sure after he was done, they wanted him to come back, or maybe you know, Vince McMahon wanted him to come over after he was done.
Possible.
But I'd love to know the amount of money that Vince McMahon.
Oh, I know, me too. What was the Olympia prize money then? $100,000? Was that?
Oh, 50, 65.
Oh, that's it, really? Oh, okay. So then whatever Blackman offered him was probably significant, you know, to his salary. You know,
I think I think Lee? I had heard, Blackman gave him. You know, I heard 250, but then I heard it was over 2 years. But I don't think so. No,
that sounded right. I don't think Blackman likes to use
250 a year, or He might
have been 250 over 2 years, I think.
Yeah. It's like a mortgage. I'll give you 250 amortized over 20 years. It's $975 a month.
Right, but you see these NBA guys now, they're getting like 35 million over like, you know, 5 or 7 years or something like that, and so it sounds like a lot up front. What was I watching? Was it Magic Johnson? Magic had some crazy contract, I think. Wasn't it like $7 million over 7 years or something like that, or some. I don't know. It was like no one signed that long and committed that long to one team. You know.
Yeah.
I think it was him that did that, and of course, by the time the 7 years was up, people were making way more than $1 million a year. You know. So.
Yeah. That's the problem, right? That's why the team does it. Oh, God, we'll lock them in because who knows? These guys may be getting a lot more than that, right? That's what people do. They lock in a lot of times, and then you look to the left and you say, wait a minute, I'm better than this guy, and he's getting more than me. Dave's mic, you just muted your mic, Dave.
How about now? Am I good?
Yeah, you're good.
All right. Yeah, so, I mean, it was a good battle, and I think that it taught Dorian, from what I've, when I interviewed Dorian, he told me it taught him a lot, that battle, because he said he really over dieted for that show because he was so worried.
Of course.
He wanted to come in so lean and ripped and shredded, and he was, but I think he flattened himself out. Had he come in 10 pounds bigger, which he probably could have, it might have been a different story. He might have beaten him. Yeah. Who knows?
Lee always says, out of all the Olympias, that's the only one he got his carb load right.
Yeah. That's great. He got his carb. And Samir would say when he won the Olympia, it was the only one he got his sodium load right.
Sodium. I was just going to say sodium. Yeah, he should, he shouldn't have cut it.
Yeah.
Sodium, it's like you don't cut it and you look watery, or you don't cut it and you look peeled, but then it's confusing to you because you do it again and you look the opposite.
I tell guys don't even cut your sodium. I stopped cutting people's sodium, I think that, unless they're really watery, I think it's a mistake. I think a lot of guys go flat.
Cutting sodium will guarantee you that you get tighter. It will also guarantee you that you get flatter.
Right. And some guys do look better. Those guys that you can give them 20 diuretics and they're still not flat. And then there's other guys you give them a half a diazide and you ruin them.
Oh God, yeah. It's like, sorry, you look better 19 weeks ago.
I have guys all the time that reach out to me and ask me these template questions, like what should I do? How many diuretics should I take? How much diazide? When should I stop? So I'm like, I don't even know who you are. I don't know what you look like. I don't know what your body does. For me to tell you something like that it's me doing a disservice to you because what works for this guy is not necessarily going to work for you. And if I tell you the wrong thing and you do it and it doesn't work, then you're still going to say, I don't know what I'm talking about. So,
they want a formula, Dave. They want a formula.
There's no formula.
It's like it's like turning on Instagram and people say, here's how to become a millionaire. And then they list the 5 things.
Yeah.
Here's how to come in peeled. They want the formula. Tuesday night, use 2 capsules of dandelion and 3 diazides. Wednesday, no more than 70 carbs of rice per meal, but the last meal you can have a donut.
Right. But then you have a guy who won't listen to what you say, and he'll eat 14 cheeseburgers and fries and a milkshake, and he wakes up in the morning, he looks fucking amazing. Then his friend, he tells that he did that, and the friend does it, and the friend looks like the Pillsbury Doughboy on stage. So everyone's different. That's why you got to do trial runs leading up to the show. I always that's why I always carb guys up on the weekends a little bit to see how their bodies respond. Do they need junky carbs? Do they need clean carbs? Do they need a lot of carbs? Do they need little carbs?
Yeah.
And you kind of get to know how people's bodies work, like that. I have one of the services that I offer as a coach is like doing people's last week of contest prep. And so I'll have people that basically work with themselves, and then they'll get me to just peak them for the show. And I find that really interesting because it's much more creative on my part because I have to really, really pay attention to how their body's responding every single day because a lot of these guys I've never worked with or girls I've never worked with. So it's more it's like more of a puzzle for me as opposed to the person that you've been working with for 25 weeks and you know exactly what happens when you put 100 grams of carbs or 200 grams or 300 grams of carbs into the diet. They're going to fill out a certain way. They're going to look dry or they're not going to look dry. It's a lot easier. And that's why a lot of guys, and I'm sure you probably have had people tell you this too, they say, I can't believe it was this easy. It seemed this was like the easiest contest prep of all time. Well, because you followed the diet, you were in shape. I didn't have to do anything crazy for you. And you coasted into the show. I mean, isn't that the way it should be for everyone?
Yeah, it should be, but it's not always that way. I was thinking of a quote. I'll have to tell you off air because the truth does hurt. We can't say.
Okay. All right.
I'll embarrass somebody.
So I always just anonymously say, and then the person will text me later. Was that me?
Oh, you were talking about me. Yes, it was
they
you.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. A lot of times they're like, oh, you should have mentioned my name. Like,
the guy cheated like crazy on his diet, or the guy who never did his cardio.
Yeah. I wished my sister a happy birthday on July 12th. There was a lot of July birthdays for some reason. that were in our circles. Sid's birthday. So my sister, I call her up and I'm like, happy birthday, Nicole. And she's like, can you believe I'm 50? I'm like, wow, you're old. And I'm thinking, wait, and I forgot that I was like 54, you know?
Oh yeah, of course.
Like,
yeah.
Holy, how did you get to 50? I said, you're 50 already? She's like,
yeah,
you're 54. I'm like, oh, that's right.
Yeah, of course.
It's crazy, right? Other people can age, but in my mind, I'm still like 18, you know? So.
Yeah, well, that's what happens is this guy told me once at this gas station, he's an older guy.
Yeah.
And he said, I used to go and get gas in my hometown all the time. And
yeah,
he said, man, I'll tell you how time flies. Is one time I saw this old bastard pull into the gas station, beep, 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 beep. And he saw, what is this idiot doing? I got customers. And he was waving to him and like waving, like, come on over. And he said, this old bastard, this old geezer. And then he realized it was his best friend from high school.
Same age as him. That's right.
And he thought, like, damn, did he get old? And he told this story to his wife. And she said, what are you talking about? You're an 82-year-old man. You look the same. You know what he said? Do I look that old?
Yeah.
Do I? And she said, yes, you do. You're 82.
That's great.
But he hadn't seen him since high school.
My father thought he looked better than everyone else.
Oh, yeah. I knew you'd say that, Dave.
He's like, I'm falling apart on the inside, but at least I have my looks. I said,
yeah, I have my, what he said, he has his hair. He probably said he have.
No, he doesn't have his hair. No, he had his looks. He means he thought he was he still looked very handsome and young, I don't look my age like these other guys, but I'm falling apart inside. He goes, you'll probably have the same thing going on. I said,
what a narcissistic press. That's
every time my son says something like, he'll be like, Mom, check out my abs. I got the best abs. My mom's like, he's just like your father. Because, I'm not a bragger. My father was a bragger about himself. Like, I don't know if it was like an insecurity thing, but my father always told everyone how great he was at what he felt he was good at, So
those are the people you want to tell other people that he's so great, because then he ends up loving you.
He used to say, he'd be like, take a picture for me at this angle. It's got to be 3/4. Yeah. I'm like, Dad, can you smile? He goes, I don't want to smile. He goes, my teeth aren't good, but 3/4. I look like I'm probably Marlon Brando, 45 years old. I'm like, all right. And then he would yell at me because the lighting's not right. But toward the end, before my father passed, the iPhones had gotten so good that I would take pictures with him. The iPhone almost enhances the picture a little bit. And I would show him, he said, that's me? I said, yeah, that's you. Look pretty damn good. If I could have showed, I took a picture when my father passed, and I went to the hospice, and they had him laying there, and they kind of like set him up a little bit. So, and he had, because he had basically just, passed over like, about 2 weeks, he had all the water that he was holding, and he had basically gotten all sucked out. His face, it was all well defined. I hadn't really seen him. He looked pretty lean, If I could have shown my dad the picture I took of him, he would have been so proud of that picture on his deathbed. I'm sure he was watching from overhead saying, that's a damn good picture. You should put that picture up. Use that picture.
Italian, girl. Italian.
Yeah, the Italian. The Italian people. They get their own thing going. The funny thing about bodybuilding is that you have to really like the way you look, right? In a certain sense, but then in another sense, we hate ourselves because we never think we look good enough. So it's like this oxymoron essentially, because here we are, we're getting on stage to show off how great we look, but we really don't really think we look that great. You go look at the pictures like, oh, this wasn't good. I wasn't big enough here. It could have been tighter. We're so critical.
The minute you get satisfied with your physique is the minute your progress stops.
Sure.
End of story.
You're right. Now, if you're Mr. Olympia, that doesn't really matter, I guess.
Right. No, yeah.
There's been plenty of guys that have coasted, on the same look over. I mean, Haney won it a lot of times where I don't think he looked any different from year to year. He might have even gotten worse sometimes. But,
I mean, it's hard to get better at that level every year. It's only the fans that demand, we want to see.
He had no one pushing him, though, too. That's the problem.
Big time problem. When you're being pushed, with Ronnie Coleman would not have become Ronnie Coleman if Jay didn't, scare him in 01. Or actually, no, that's not true. Coleman became Coleman in 98. 97, 98.
Jay would have never been Jay if he hadn't had
Jay
Ronnie.
would have never been Jay, but Ronnie wouldn't have, improved, which, or just got bigger. That's for sure.
Right. I think Ronnie's thing was he wanted to beat all the guys that had been beating him, the Nasser and Flex and Kevin and all those guys. So he was working so hard that when he beat those guys, pushed him. But then Jay realized that if he was ever going to beat Ronnie, he had to put on a massive amount of size. Luckily for him, his frame could hold it. But I mean, I don't think we ever would have seen the Jay Cutler that we saw at the peak of his powers had Ronnie not been there.
No doubt.
He wouldn't have had to get that big. He wouldn't.
No,
like,
so
what if he was
Haney-
competing today? Like, would Jay be Mr. Olympia today in the last 4 years? Would he have beaten Ramy?
Yeah, with his mom. Yeah, for sure.
Because of just conditioning, probably.
Conditioning, density, leg separation, abs. I mean, go on. Side tricep, back. I mean, depends on which Jay is showing up. You talk a young Jay or
Yeah, young Jay. I mean, like if Jay was coming up today against the Ramy, and all the guys that are today. You can take Ramy out of the equation, even the other guys. I mean, there would have been no one really pushing him that much. So he would have just focused on conditioning and separation and stuff like that, probably.
Yeah. I mean, you only as good. That's sports.
Ali Frazier,
competition,
right? Ali Frazier. Would Ali have been as good without Joe Frazier? To fight? No, of course not. I mean, the guy, they fought wars in that ring.
Blackman Weeder. You love it, Dave.
The funny thing is, I've been watching Mike Tyson. He's actually hysterical. Have you seen all these little snippets?
No, but everything out of his mouth is like insightful. It's either funny, a little bit crazy, or very insightful. Simple as that.
He's become like the Yogi Berra of, hasn't he?
He's always been that like weird little quotable.
Right, but now he doesn't take himself so seriously. So he's like, but he's very smart. He has a lot of good insights into life.
That's what I mean. Share one of those insights with us.
I'm trying to. They always pop up on Facebook. It's something funny. Let me see if I can find something here.
Yeah, he's a handholder.
Oh, let me see. Let's see if we can pull this up here.
Mike had it ripped over. It was like this. It was like this towel with a hole ripped in it. He used to have older. The brothers had a glass and they on the side. The brothers coming through, they like this. They coming through on each Mike's side. Oh, it was crazy. What was on your mind when you was walking down there, Mike?
Yo, listen, I don't even know that guy.
You didn't ever know the guy that was there?
Right now, who the fuck was that?
Mike had it ripped over. It was like this.
Mike Tyson, it sounds like Chris Cormier, doesn't he?
What's that?
You need to bend your leg and lean forward, just straight up. The people started known as almost like crab technique, Japanese karate. Your head bent, hands up, and you're punching, you're moving as you're coming in, you're very aggressive. Logan, you need to bend your leg and lean more forward, just straight.
Dave, do you remember when Mike Tyson crashed his Bentley and he just got tired? He had to just left it.
He gave it to. Didn't he give it to the
police
his
officer?
driver?
I
think he gave it to the driver, like who picked him up or something like that, right?
The tow truck driver.
Yeah, something like that, right? He said you could just keep it.
He had the house he had the Farmington, Connecticut house that he sold. I think he sold it to 50 Cent, or
he did.
It went into bankruptcy. Maybe 50 Cent got it, and I think it went into bankruptcy from 50 Cent. Who knows? It was just it's like one of those houses that's too big to maintain. Just
he lost a ton of money. Didn't on that house? I think. Didn't what's his name? Didn't Holyfield also lose a big house he had?
Yeah, I went to Holyfield's house in Atlanta.
That's why I was bringing it up. You were in that crazy house, right?
Yeah, unbelievable.
How big was it?
Oh my gosh, it would have made the Donald proud.
Oh, real?
The grounds it would take you forever to drive by the house because it was
and that was in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, outside Atlanta. I don't know where. He had a boxing glove swimming pool.
Oh, really? Did he? Really? That's great.
And I mean, it was phenomenal. It was like, the type of house you build for an oligarch. Russian oligarch comes and says, I want a house and, spare no expense.
Right. The problem was the money that he was making, prior to just stopped coming in. I think he had a lot of people steal money from him. Then
everyone does when they make. Who knows? Everyone always has, Everyone wants to tell you
a lot of money though too. And I don't know if he lost as much as who lost more, Holyfield. Him. I would probably say Tyson probably lost more. But Tyson's doing well now. I don't know how Holyfield. I'm assuming Holyfield's probably okay too at this point, because they're big celebrities. They can demand money to make appearances and stuff like that. I'm sure. I know Mike's doing well. He has investments. I think isn't he involved in the medical marijuana?
Yeah, he's doing something with that.
I'm surprised Jay Cutler isn't in business with Tyson or something like that.
Yeah, I think Brad Rowe was doing something with him for a while, gym or the lifting machine, or maybe they're just smoking pot together. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I think Brad was doing that machine he has, right? The electro EMS machine. On
Get
ready for the fight.
That's right. He was. Yeah. Yes, hook yourself up to the to the machine.
We always loved to see he's like Tyson's become like George Foreman. Remember when George Foreman people hated George Foreman when he was in the ring, and then he made the comeback. He was like everyone's grandfather, and he had the George Foreman grill. That's like Tyson's at that point in his life. He'll probably make more money now than he ever made as a fighter, because people just like him. They want him around. They'll pay him money just to endorse stuff and do podcasts and stuff like that.
Who displaced George Foreman as the big pitch man? Let's see if you get it.
That's a good question. I don't watch TV anymore. Who is the big pitch man now?
Everywhere you go. I go to Staples. I go to Walmart. Shaq.
Oh, Shaq. Yeah, Shaq. You're right. Shaq is loaded.
Yeah, Shaq is Fiberlize. I use Fiberlize and on my 9-foot toilet. And I mean, he's involved in everything, endorsing everything.
He's got like a lot of wisdom too, like a lot of just common sense wisdom. You ask him, and he was telling some story I was listening to about how he was at the pool at the Beverly Hills Hotel or something like that. And these guys were talking about something like, they were talking about Google before Google was anything. And he's like, what is this thing? He goes, you're going to be able to search for anything on your phone and on your on computer. You just type it away. He's like, how do I get involved in this? He goes, that sounds useful. And the guy put him in touch with someone, and he actually was an investor, and one of the original investors in Google, believe it or not. He made a fortune.
Crazy.
Yeah. And that's it. He said he used to go to the Beverly Hills Hotel by the pool and just hang out there, just because all the wealthiest, smartest people were there. He said he would eavesdrop. I said, and I'm thinking to myself, he's like 7 feet tall. How was he eavesdrop? But everyone liked him around because they knew who he was, So they didn't care.
You hear the quote when someone said, he overheard his kids saying, "We're rich." He said, "We're rich." He said, "I'm rich. You're not rich. You got to go get a job."
That was great. Yeah, that was a classic line. I'm sure your kids and my kids think the same thing. Oh yeah, we got money, because daddy's got money,
Brand manager of a supplement line.
Brand manager.
Brand manager of something that doesn't sell.
My son is.
It's a Seinfeld episode, Dave.
Yeah.
My son is the brand manager, international brand manager of a nutrition company that has no presence. We have product.
Give us the website if anyone wants to buy from this nutrition company that has no. What is it? Aceto.com?
No, I should call it chrisaceto.biz, but I should call it No Sales Supplements. People say, why do you call it that? Because we don't have any sales.
That's right.
You have brand manager? Yeah, we have brand manager.
We have.
What's his experience? Well, he walks to school, plays football. He's got his own iPhone, so he's. Yeah,
he probably knows more about social media than you do, though. So
of course. Listen, I learned how to turn on the search for the Spectrum app on my phone. I couldn't figure out how to. On my TV, I didn't know how to turn it on.
Look at that little factoid that one of our viewers. Rick Ross owns Holyfield's house now.
Who's Rick Ross?
He's the music guy,
No, I didn't know.
Yeah.
How many square feet is it? 32,000?
I don't know.
Well, the guy who just gave us that information, he should know. He sounds like a realtor.
We should get Shaq on here. Shaq is into bodybuilding now. The Rock Shabazz trains him. And I know I should give him a call and see if we can get that. Shaq would be hysterical on here, wouldn't he? He would talk bodybuilding the whole time. We wanted to ask him about all his investments, and he'd be like just wanting to talk bodybuilding with us. Like Shaq,
no, you got to see if he'll endorse Fiberlize.
Yeah. He probably has his own brand. He'll buy species for me. That wouldn't be bad.
Maybe he can buy it, and his son can become the brand manager.
There you go, Chris. There you go. Great idea. And on that great idea, we're going to wrap up today's show. Everyone, thanks for joining us live as always. And Chris, it was a pleasure to chat with you. And as my father would say, kibitz with you for an hour. Congratulations to IAIN VALLIERE for the great victory. And as we say every week here at Heavy Muscle Radio, with
the
Heavy
truth
Muscle
hurts.
Radio,
the truth hurts.
it sure does. Good night, everyone. We'll see you next week.